Good morning, good afternoon, whatever part of the world you're in. We're glad to have you here on this Wednesday to find out some more about the Immunotech opportunity. I'm Keith Hooper here in Central California, and we're joined today by a couple of very special people. The first one I'm going to go to is our good friend down in Dallas, Texas, Mr. John Solider. Good afternoon. Good morning, John.
Actually, afternoon here, Keith. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. You know, we've got a number of people on the call here today, and I know we've got another special guest coming up in just a minute, but maybe you can share a little bit about Immunotech and where this opportunity is going and what you see.
Well, you know, Keith, Immunotech is an interesting enterprise, to say the least. I'm sure you agree. It's something that started, for those of you who are listening for the first time, you know, perhaps you're in sales, perhaps you're in business for yourself, perhaps you have a job or you work for someone else, and you're saying to yourself and maybe your spouse or your significant other, you're saying, hey, you know, it's time for us to start to look at our options going down the road. We're looking for a multiple source of income, and maybe you're not even terming it as that. Maybe you're just saying, hey, we need to make extra money. Whatever it is, it really is the same thing. It's the idea of having another source of income coming into the house. Now, our company, Immunotech, has been in business for 21 years, and many people, not only here in the United States and Canada, but also down in Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Republic of Ireland, the United Kingdom, and several other places around the world, Guatemala as well, we just opened for business there, have taken advantage of this Immunotech company and the product that it markets to build themselves that secondary source of income. And you say to yourself, you know, why a secondary source of income? Well, I don't think we really need to say why, but let me give you three things that are commonalities that I find in talking to people in all these markets. Number one, most people say, hey, if my kids are under the age of 18 and I want them to have a college education, which most of us obviously do, costs a lot of money. College education today runs about $300,000 for a four-year university here in the United States and about $200,000 in Canada. That's a lot of money when you consider that's after-tax dollars. Where's that money going to come from? It's got to come from another source of income, perhaps. Perhaps from your job you're saving some, but not enough. What about retirement? What about when you start looking and saying, hey, the clock on the old license here is getting faster and faster, and even though I feel terrific, at some point in the future, I'm probably going to want to retire. I mean, in my case, I can't believe next month I'm going to be 57 years old. And you start thinking about retirement, you start saying, how am I going to fund that? How am I going to continue to live in the same house, drive the same cars, do the things that I like to do, have the money to, you know, hang out with the kids and grandkids, give money to my church, do all the other things that I do today? How am I going to continue to do that in my retirement years? Once again, a secondary income, a multiple source of income, whatever you want to call it, would be a great way to continue to live in the same lifestyle that you and your spouse are used to. And finally, what about health care? That's a big one. Many of us, myself included, have elderly parents that are living in facilities that are very, very costly. Well, our time might come ourselves, but what if it's mom or dad or an aunt or uncle that you're helping out financially, and you say, okay, I've got this extra financial burden that perhaps you never thought about before that's come into your life. And if you've got all three situations, well, you better do something really, really quick. But most of us have at least one of those, I'm sure you'd agree. So that said, a lot of people look at Immunotech and they say, okay, here's a company, 21 years in business successfully. Here's a company that does over $100 million in sales annually and growing. Here's a company that's got a global footprint and growing. Here's a company that has a product that has over 40 years of established research done at some of the leading universities, hospitals, and research centers in the world that document its efficacy on this specific product, not an ingredient, but on this specific product called Immunical. And they take this product out to the marketplace. They begin to share it with friends, relatives, neighbors, coworkers, you know, people at the ball field when the kids are playing Little League, whatever it happens to be, and they start to share this product, and they start to build an income, mostly on a part-time basis. You don't have to leave your current job to do this. That's the good news, okay? You just find the extra hours and you work it into whatever else you happen to be doing. If you're taking your kid to hockey practice like I do almost every day, you talk to people about this product at the rink. If it's the ball field, it's the ball field. If it's the the church circle group, it's the church circle group after your meeting is done. Whatever it happens to be, once again, to talk to people and tell them a little bit about our product and our business is what people do starting out. And many people have been successful in building part-time supplementary income that way. And some of us have been really blessed to be able to build full-time sustainable incomes to support our families with. Now, one of the people that's been successful in doing that on my team over the years is a young man that I say he's a young man, but he's right behind me age-wise, so we're getting up there in years, and he can relate to some of the things I mentioned here, those three needs. He certainly can relate to those. He's got a daughter about to start college in September, so the education one certainly is resonating with them as we speak. But his name is Foster Owusu. He's got a remarkable story. He's done a remarkable job. He's authored a book. He's a leader in our company. He goes all over the world to speak and talk about the Immunotech product and business. And his story is one that, at the very least, is inspiring. So let me bring my good friend, Mr. Foster Owusu, on the phone. And first of all, welcome, Foster.
Hey, John, thank you. I appreciate the fact that I'm being described as a young man. Yes, sir.
I'm describing you as that, but I still have more hair than you. But that's besides the point. Anyway, if you would, my friend, tell a little bit about your experiences and what's happened over the years for you and for your family being a part of Immunotech.
John, thank you for the opportunity. I mean, it's a real delight for me to be able to share with you and our guests this afternoon, because for me, this Immunotech journey has been a real blessing, tremendous blessing. I'm speaking with you from my home this afternoon in the suburb of Toronto, in a small town called Brampton, and this town has grown to a big city now over the years. And frankly, when I saw the Immunotech opportunity back in 1999, like most people, I had a full-time job. I was working with a particular company. I studied for the past 12-year study, and I was on that. And when I saw this opportunity, I said to myself, if I can give myself anywhere between 3 to probably 5 years part-time, I can establish something that will probably supplement my income in a very strong way. At the time, John, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Toronto, and some of the things that you talked about today resonated with me because, like before and now, I had bills. I still have bills today. But the difference between back then and today is the fact that back then I had bills and I was broke. Today I have bills because of responsibility, but I'm not as stressed as I used to. Of course, things are changing. I was at a point in my life living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I had a desire, a real burning desire to do certain things. Number one, I wanted to own my own home. Thankfully, this business has been able to allow me to do that. There were other things that I had on my table, and I was to be able to, at some point in the near future, because the first 2 years into my Immunotech journey, my wife and I did not have kids. But we had this burning desire that at some point, when we start having kids, we want to be able to provide for our kids the best education and preferably put them through private school. And in this case, we've been able to do that through a Christian private education, and it has really prepared them for the future, I must say. But moving on is not just even what I've done for my immediate family here in Canada. I know that this opportunity has also helped me to reach out to some of my extended families back home in Ghana, West Africa, where I was born and raised. I have a particular nephew that I talk about most of the time when I'm at a conference. And this boy was helped through our high school, college, and he's been able to finish his master's, all because of what the financial benefit from Immunotech has been able to offer me to be able to allow others to benefit. Today, as you mentioned, in a matter of months, my daughter will be heading to college. So there's another goal. Of course, there's a reason why I'm still working hard. But the beauty about how hard we work is every single day, the vast majority of us put in these part-time hours at the comfort of our home, but very consistent to create the kind of income using the vehicle that we have with Immunotech. The good news is, John, if I may say this, joined the company February 3rd of 1999. Back then, the company used to pay every 2 weeks. Received my very first check February 18th of 1999. And to this day, it hasn't stopped. So sometimes it's even very difficult to know how much this business is worth to us. And I know, John, you have a lot of questions to ask, so I've just given you a little glimpse of what my background has been and what this company has offered so far, and I'll just sit back and take any specific questions that you may want to throw at me, John.
Well, I know that, you know, many of the people out there that listen to these calls, whether they listen to us live, you know, it's a Wednesday afternoon, or they listen to us on the taped version of this. I still call it Tape Foster. I guess it's digital nowadays, but right, we put this out there digitally for a couple of days after the call. I know a lot of people listen on that as well, but you know, what would your number one bit of advice be to somebody new? Maybe they've got a job, they're making an income, but they're just not getting that extra income that they need to save for any of the three things I described earlier, or, you know, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a new car. Maybe it's a family vacation. You know, who knows? We all have a need for money. So what would be what can they do to really get themselves jump-started with this business?
John, you know, this is what I always tell people. Let's say today if I had a regular job and I need to earn extra income, there's no magical formula other than to go and spend some time, literally trading time for money, put in 4 hours part-time probably in the evening to accumulate an extra, 20 hours on a part-time job. And if I do that, even for a year, 20 hours, you multiply that for the number of, 50, 52 weeks that we all work. At the end of the day, okay, after 1 year, even if you got slightly ahead, once you quit that part-time job, the income will stop. I tell people, you invest the same part-time hours doing Immunitech. I can almost predict a person's future once they understand what we have in our hand, because a person must identify their need, but they also must recognize what we have in our hands. And once you identify that, then you ask yourself, if I put in extra even 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day, and consistently engage people, you look at that, if you do it for whatever number of time, but let's say you do it 1,000 times, that is like literally investing 2,000 hours in your future. That 2,000 hours is equivalent to you putting in, 20 hours a week part-time, but then after a year, the 1,000 hours that you put in another job will disappear if you quit that job. However, in Immunitech, you put in 1,000 hours, and you evaluate your business, you can easily say that you have made the best financial investment. Look at this, for example. John, I joined in February of 1999, and within a few short weeks, I shared this with folks who also had a burning desire to probably change their current financial situation back then. And some of the people that I introduced to the program, the first 2 years, the majority of them have stayed with me. So then you ask the question, for all these 19 years that I have been able to cash in and out, is it worth it? So yes, it's as simple as a consistent part-time hours. If a person has the three things that we always talk about, number one, without a doubt, a person must have a burning desire to realize that they want something different in their lives. And that could be simply some of the things that you mentioned about. Some of the things could be material things, like being able to afford a car, being able to afford a home. In my case, those were tangible enough. I had a burning desire for that. But there's something else also that I had, John, and that was the willingness to work. I don't believe in free lunch. I believe that if you put in the time and effort, it will reward you. Something that I did, and I continue to do, is the fact that I made myself available to be coachable. And being coachable is some of the things that I've done over the years. I've spent a lot of time in the gym with you. We're both on a bike and sweating, but at the same time, I'm picking your brain. I'm getting to know you, and then I get to pick your brain, tap into your years of experience and the way you manage money and all those stuff. And I have continuously learned from you. Another great person that we have on the call today who introduced you, our overall mentor, Keith Hooper. Every time I talk to him, it's almost like this man has, a chest full of nugget that he can just part you. Sometimes he doesn't have enough hours in the day to just mentor me. But if you spend an hour a week with Keith or yourself, being mentored, definitely. And by the way, the price for mentorship, this is what I love about this business. If this was a traditional business, John, there's no way I'll be able to afford your service and Keith at the same time. It just would be practically impossible. I will digress and tell you this. Yesterday I was talking to an associate who has a friend who owns a computer business. And I said, hey, listen, tell me something, Angela. If Clement were to expand his business today, would that be possible? She said, yeah. And I said, well, would it be possible for him to afford to pay people like himself and find staff that are equally qualified like him to expand his business and have multiple locations? She said, I bet you not. Well, in our business, this opportunity allowed me to tap into your knowledge, to tap into Keith's knowledge for free, which most people don't realize. So anyways, if you can find a mentor and just be coachable and be willing to work and have a burning desire, John, I can almost say success can be yours. So back to you.
Well, Foster, go back the almost 20 years that we've known each other and been not only friends and colleagues and everything else. Did you see yourself 20 years ago not only mentoring other people, but also, writing books and traveling internationally and being asked to speak to an audience in a different language? Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, John, these are some of the many blessings that come our way that, for the most part, we don't predict some of this fanfare that comes along. I mean, when I look at my own story, it's humbling to say the least. But I remember one particular experience, precisely September of 2016, and I had the opportunity to go to Mexico and speak. And to my amazement, by the time I made it to this convention around 8 a.m., there were thousands of people waiting at the door, some that I had the opportunity to meet. I've taken pictures with some of them that drove on the bus for the past 12, 14, 16 hours overnight just to come and hear me talk. Now, it was sad to say that these people stayed from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., over 7,000 people at this event. Now, 19 years ago when I joined Immunitech, I had no earthly idea that such opportunity was going to be in front of me. To be able to author a book, How to Fire Your Boss and Hire Yourself, I got inspired by the fact that I was able to, at some point in my Immunitech career, something that I did part-time, I've been able to replace my full-time income, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to also put my story in a book. And it's gaining a lot of attention, not because I'm a brilliant writer, but it's just people can feel my heart that if an average person who has become extraordinary due to the fact that I've gone through the ranches and trenches and learned some of the tips that I need to learn to grow this business, for some people, it's admiring to watch my energy on stage. And I can say that today, as we were talking, I mean, request was coming in for me to travel somewhere else, and I'm still negotiating some deals that I didn't know was going to be available at some point in my career. So, John, the future is still bright, even at this age, 55, going strong.
Well, so here you are. You're 55, going on 56. You've done all these things. You've got a business. You've got a growing family. You got a daughter starting college in the fall, I know. So what would your advice be to somebody, if you can summarize this in 50 words or less, why they should join Immunitech today? You know why you joined 20 years ago, but why should they join us today?
Well, John, I mean, for me, if I'm looking at this company today, number one, not everybody on this call know that we have a new CEO that has invested a lot of money into this deal. And what I like about this person's commitment is, number one, he's much younger than you and I. He's 39 going 40, which means he's going to be around much longer than most people on this call if he continues to take his product. And because of his age and his background, because this is somebody who has extensive background in our industry, and he knows how to really grow this business. Last year, as you know, we did over $100 million in sales. And, the advantages that comes with home-based businesses is the fact that most traditional business, okay, John, if a person is trying to get into traditional business, what happens is it can be very costly. In our type of home-based business, John, a person does not need to probably rent an office, does not need to have, the stuff that will cost upfront money. So if possible, this is a business you can start in your home. And the tax advantages alone is what starts in something like ours. The other thing is, everything that we do, John, in a sense, we get paid up front. We get paid up front in the sense that you sell product, you get paid. You introduce somebody to the company, literally, they buy product, you get paid. So there's nothing like you having to wait 3 months to recuperate your income that you've invested. So the return on the investment can be almost immediate. So again, I would suggest, look at the opportunity and take a look at this company and say, okay, well, Immunotech 2017, if I'm going to evaluate Immunotech 2017, and moving forward, this company, the new CEO has made a commitment to open 2 new countries every single year. And it's going to be more, but 2 is the minimum. Well, to have a local investment that can easily turn into a global opportunity, for me, there are several pluses, because when I look at it, if I was a real estate agent in Toronto, Ontario, my license can only sell real estate in this province. I am limited as far as how far I can go. In our opportunity, this business has no territorial limitation. You can go wherever the company expands you. And to me, that's exciting. So from a part-time point of view, I would say look at this company from a very critical point of view and take a serious consideration, because at the end of the day, we all have obligations. And as long as the bills continue to come, our reason to continue to do what we're doing, even if it's just for the extra income or totally financial independence, or just be able to say to yourself you want to be your own business, because that was one of the things that I really enjoy. And I can also tell you, to have the privilege to help artists, and at the end to be able to perhaps prepare for a better retirement option and to leave a legacy someday, I think that in itself is worth every single investment that will put you into this deal. So back to you, John.
Great. Well, thank you, Foster. And time doesn't allow, but we could go on all afternoon about some of the experiences that Foster's had going around the world with this, and some of the places he's been, and some of the fun things that we've gotten to do too, both together and separately over the years, and meeting so many inspiring people and hearing so many inspiring stories from our product. But just kind of to summarize for everyone's benefit, we're not a new business. We're a 20-year-old business. We continue to grow year to year to year. Our business is growing internationally. But the reason is, once again, our product. Our product does 3 primary things, our product Immunical, and that is it makes you healthier, it makes you stronger, and it makes you smarter. So if healthier, smarter, and stronger are things that you desire, we have a product that will help you to do that. In addition to that, we obviously have a business opportunity that you can participate in on a part-time basis. We're here to help you. We have calls like this. This evening we have a product call that Keith Hooper leads with Dr. Barry White. On Thursday nights we do a training call. We've got other things that go on within the company to support us as well. So all that said, you're not in business by yourself. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We're here to aid you every step of the way. So with that, from Dallas, Texas, I want to thank everybody for their time until next Wednesday afternoon. Have a great balance of your week. And if you are here for the first time, return to the person who asked you to listen to this call, and they'll be able to kind of fill in the gaps for you, tell you, how to get started and all the other things that you probably don't know about. So with that, from Dallas, Texas, John Solider saying bye for now.